All right, MWA Clinic. Grand Ledge's Tyler Hubert is up here, and we were talking last night about it, but you were talking about some really good insight. So I wanted to sit you down and see if we could record, some of the stuff you were talking about. But along the lines of building a youth wrestling program, and some of the things that you guys do at Grand Ledge, and some of the research that you did on your own, just researching youth sports in general, and just some of the things you're implementing there in Grand Ledge. So I just wanted to kind of pick your brain here, and yes, so you can kind of run with that if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate it. Again, Tyler Hubert, really blessed with the opportunity to kind of share what we're doing and some of the great growth that we've had. I guess really a good starting point is the research. So when I took our youth wrestling club over, I wanted to know what obstacles we were going to face before I actually implemented any changes. So nationally, 70% of kids are done playing organized athletics before they're in high school. It's an alarming number. Within the sport of wrestling, really, retention is only, different studies show different things, but about 45% nationally, kids coming back from one year to the next. So I had to solve those problems first. And then, I kind of paired that up with some of the great lessons I've gotten throughout, my career as a competitor. And there's a 10-year competitive clock in most athletes. So how do I pair that up with what I'm learning through these other studies and have a positive impact on kids? It was really interesting to do a lot of the research, but I just have a huge passion to help kids, but I want to make sure those opportunities are there for them at the right time, and that we don't ask more of that athlete than maybe they're ready for at that point in their career.
So one of the things I found interesting was the link that you saw between the Winter Olympics and I guess it ultimately comes back to youth sports, but Norway won the most medals in the 2018 Winter Olympics.
Right.
And then you dug into how they got to that point, right, with only a population of about 5 million.
Yeah, so really cool, fascinating stuff. Norway won the Winter Olympic medal count with 39 medals. The United States was 16 behind them. We only had 23. Their population is similar to Detroit. So I said, how is that even possible? So it went all the way back to the 1988 games where they only had 4 medals, but they implemented national change, and they said, we're not going to allow anyone to keep records, keep scores, or publicize results of any youth sporting event until they're at least 13 years of age. So the amazing thing about that is their participation actually went up. So today, 93% of adults participated in youth sports. Just an unbelievable number. So yeah, that was fascinating.
And so in seeing that, they're not competing, they're not keeping score, all that stuff. How did you guys implement that into Grand Ledge, and what sorts of things are you doing along those lines?
Yeah. So to tie it closer to wrestling, the Russians don't compete until much later as well. So I looked at that, and then I thought about that 10-year competitive clock, and what are my parents going to be able to stomach? So know my own community. So we really took that competition aspect out, and it's just a scrimmage. If you're 8 and under, and you're really in your first, second year of wrestling, we don't want you competing and starting that competitive clock yet. Then we transitioned from beginner to advanced, and for us, advanced can be anywhere from 2 to 4 years, depending on how you're progressing, how your family feels about the situation. But it's very limited match counts, and it's different by age. But we're trying to introduce you to the novice level for at least 2 years, or a year to 2 years, depending on the kid. Increase match counts, and then we get to our competitive level, where now we're really training, but it's focused around fun. You got to have fun. It's a real short season for beginners. We add a couple more weeks, so we go from 6 to 7 weeks of a season up to 10 to 11 weeks of a season. But again, those kids are done before that end of the year series, where maybe they're not emotionally and mentally ready to be in that stressful environment. And then once they're at competitive, now we're ready to actually maybe take on that stressful environment and see, test our skills that we've built over a 4-year process before we enter that stressful environment.
A lot of the parents of youth kids, that's probably an unfamiliar thing to hear. I'm sure when you were growing up, you wrestled in a lot of tournaments. I wrestled in a lot of tournaments. Was it a hard thing to sell to parents to not have kids compete as much?
Yeah, initially it was really difficult. We had parents that they'd experienced different, or their friends were in a different club, and they really wanted to push hard, and maybe their goals weren't the same as their kids, and it for the kid wasn't the best environment. Those folks, we had some hard conversations. I still supported their young athlete. Went and coached them if they decided they were still going to go. But unfortunately, a lot of those kids have quit the program, and it's not because of what we're doing. It's because it was too soon for them. And now that we're into it, most of our parents thank me because their first experience is a scrimmage. It's not an all-day yell fest, at a big event. And the yell fest, if you will, for that second or third year kid is easier to stomach for a mom or dad than it is, this is my first experience with the sport of wrestling, and wow, it's intense.
You brought up retention a lot during your speech,
yeah.
And how important that is. Look, how have you seen, since starting this idea, how long have you guys been doing this, by the way?
Yeah, so this will be our 4th full year of doing this.
Okay, so how have you seen retention improve along those lines?
So if I just look at the raw data behind it, we had 42 kids in our program. At Grand Ledge, we have 1,680 students in our high school. That 42 was kindergarten to 8th grade. 26 of them were 7th and 8th graders. So when we implemented change, we went up to 63 student athletes, and that was just kindergarten to 6th grade our first year. Middle school was kind of separate. We had a big gap in our program. The 3rd year, we went up to 84 athletes. And again, kindergarten to 6th grade, not counting our middle schoolers. This year we're projected to be over 100, and from kindergarten to 6th, and our middle school numbers are separate. And our retention year over year is 80%. And once we get you through year 2, it's 93%. So we really found the needs of our communities, families, as well as the kids, and they're having a lot of fun, making a lot of friends, and really developing those networks and relationships.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your presentation here today. I thought it was really intriguing stuff, so I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit more. Did I miss anything? Did we leave anything out?
I really don't think that we left anything out. I'm just excited to see what the future holds for Grand Ledge, and I know, once this group of kids that have grown with us now over, this being the 4th season, when they get to the high school level, they're going to be really hungry, and they're really going to be ready to hopefully put Grand Ledge, in a different spot competitively.
Yeah, we'll be following for sure. And like I said, thanks for sharing the knowledge with what you guys are doing with the rest of the state.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.